Okay. Good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Today is Thursday, July 10th, 2014, and this is the board meeting for the Senior Council of Aging, and I'm just chairing this meeting as a temporary thing because our current vice chair, Audrey Levy, can't make the meeting. So I hope everyone hears with me because I've only done this once before. However, we have a shortage of people this evening, but let's introduce ourselves, starting with our newest member, John.
I'm John Miller.
Debbie Young.
Linda Hayes, Director of the Council on Aging.
And I'm Dale Gaylord, past and present member of the board. So we have some things on the agenda that we probably can't really deal with right now because we don't have a quorum. However, we can, bring up the things that are on the agenda for our next meeting, which will be in August. So it's that time of the year for the changing of the guard, and it's time to elect new officers, or if the officers from last year would like to stay on board, that's fine too, but we do have to take nominations, and there's not even a quorum to vote tonight, but the members that are here can make some nominations. Now, the two positions that are open are chairperson and secretary. So for the information for the members, which I don't think is necessary to read verbatim in our package, but our descriptions of the position of chairman and or chairwoman and secretary. So briefly, just to sum up for the TV audience, the chairman is responsible for the preparation of the agenda for all meetings and very often works closely with the director. So our new director, Linda Hayes, will work with the new chairperson. So there's a detailed description, but this really pertains to anyone here on the board who's possibly interested or nominated in their particular specific responsibilities. And of course the chairman is responsible for leading all the meetings. And the secretary is responsible for preparing the minutes of each meeting, which are approved by the board at the following meeting. Now, this is a perfect case of where Pam Davis has been doing them. Excuse me. Pam Davis has been doing them for the board, even though she's not a current member. She's a past member and chairperson for 6 years. So for the past so many 8 or 9 months, she's been doing them for us as another volunteer activity for her. But she's done more than is expected, and so it's time now. Pam has to move on with other responsibilities, and we do need a secretary.
It is made that much easier because you don't have to take notes verbatim at the meeting, but can then watch the film afterwards that they put onto the YouTube site and do the minutes at your leisure, which is nice.
Right. There's always a copy of the video available at the senior center. So if somebody doesn't catch the meetings, they are televised fairly frequently. Sometimes, however, at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, I can attest to this. So if you're not an insomniac and you don't catch a meeting, you can always, review the tape for particulars down at the senior center. So those are the two openings that we have now, as well as vice chair. And up until now, this past year, Audrey Levy has been the vice chair, and
She's interested in remaining or being renominated as vice chair.
Right.
But not available.
So we can discuss nominations, but we can't vote because we don't have a quorum. And cases, if the person was nominated and they weren't here, it really wouldn't be fair to vote them in or what have you. So, does anyone have any nomination for chairperson?
Is anyone present interested?
I do not have any nominations.
Okay.
And I think I need to abstain from either, consideration for either.
Ideally, it is someone who has been on the board for a year or at least some time. It doesn't have to be the case, but
Well, I'd like to nominate Dr. Price. He's a newest member to the board, and he's not here right now. There might have been a miscommunication. He might have thought that the meeting was elsewhere. This is Dr. Gordon Price, and he might, something might have come up. We thought he would be attending. So I'd like to nominate Dr. Price, even though he has not been on the board previously. There are many of us know how articulate and how
he actually was on the board previously.
I was just going to correct
I'm not sure
myself.
how many years ago.
A few years back, he was on the board. So he's had experience with the board, just not currently. So I nominate Dr. Price. Does anybody want to second that? Okay, so when Dr. Price either arrives late or we get in touch with him tomorrow, we'll let him know that he was nominated. And during the meeting in August, we'll have the opportunity to vote if he's willing to stay with the nomination. So, does anybody have any suggestions for secretary for nomination? Okay, I'd like to nominate our newest member, once again, who's not here. She couldn't make it tonight, but she's just been newly appointed, Elizabeth McCabe. And I know that she has a very busy schedule. So, however, it's often, I was secretary at one point, and it was when I first came on the board, and it's actually a very good way to find out more about the board and keep track of, the particulars and the specifics. So Elizabeth, I know is very busy, but maybe she could possibly want to be secretary. Does anybody want to second that? Thank you.
Thank you. This is working.
Okay, it's working. We hope that they'll go along with our suggestions. So now that
I may just mention too, at this point, it's a board of 7. So to have a quorum, we need 4.
4, right? We don't have a quorum. So.
There is not a stipulation as yet that I can find in the bylaws. It simply says a minimum of 7, but I believe we could have more. And we may be interested in soliciting more board members, which does make it a little bit easier to divide up some of the tasks that we're hoping to accomplish and fill. So that might be something that we also might see in the next 1 or 2 months.
I agree. I think we've actually had more than 7 on it from time to time while I was on the board the past 2 years. But it also covers the basis for base eds for a quorum, especially in the wintertime when people can get ill. Some people travel, to Florida or what have you. And, if we have 9 or at least more than 7, it sometimes makes it a little, it adds to the flexibility of what we might want to accomplish, as well as what Linda just said about committees and tasks.
I did also include, just again for discussion or just for reference, a single page from the town general bylaws that has the 2 paragraphs regarding the Council on Aging, just for your own edification. The number of board members and responsibilities briefly. We are looking and thinking about whether or not we have our own bylaws or should create our own bylaws. So that will come up too.
Okay, so the item 3 on our agenda is review and approval of the minutes from the June meeting, which is the last time that Pam Davis has done the meeting minutes. And I know that I thanked her publicly here in this forum, and I thanked her privately, but I will thank her again. Thank you, Pam. This was above and beyond, you know.
Although she may not see this, because she's not doing the minutes anymore.
I know, but she watches Channel 9. So, we cannot approve last month's meeting minutes because we don't have a quorum. So now we can move on to item 4 on our agenda, which is the director's report. So you can take it away,
That's
Linda.
me, okay, thank you. Okay, on a general note, a request for quotes was issued in June to solicit providers for the needs assessment survey project approved by the town. Bids were submitted and reviewed this past week by myself, Joanne Ball, who's friends of the Scituate Seniors Organization, and Pam Davis, who was a former board chair. As soon as we know something further, I'll be able to share it with the board, either by email or otherwise at the next board meeting. But things are moving, and actually, hopefully by the next board meeting, we'll have a lot more information in the beginning. So that's exciting. We are also planning and working with Scituate Cable Television this summer to produce a short informational public relations video, a video clip to air on the cable station, showing some videos, some still pictures from the senior center, from activities, events, interviews with the staff, explanations, brief explanations of what we do in the different areas. Something that just might help inform and show what actually goes on through the senior center. So I'm excited. It's great of John and Shannon and the group at SCTV to help us out with that. Laura Menier, the social services manager, and I had also met with the town clerk in June to determine what she could give us, the best reporting schematics for providing a senior center, and with Scituate senior demographics that of course will help when we embark on the needs assessment, but also for our own purposes, for building a comprehensive database, for facilitating our outreach efforts, and even especially for emergency management. So the town clerk who gets reports through the state based on the census, but updates each year. So that was a good meeting. Activities-wise, I've included in the report, I would say total number of swipes, which means when people come into the center and use their scan card, they swipe and they're there one time for a certain activity, which should be recorded. We know when someone's there for an exercise class versus when they are there to meet with our outreach coordinator. So it's all in the system categorized. But then there's the unduplicated, duplicated versus unduplicated. So for instance, for exercise in general, if there were 155 swipes, but only 40 unduplicated attendees, that means 40 people have come into the building, but some of them numerous times, equaling the 155. So you can look at that, I don't need to name them all. We have our regular activities, of course. We also have our social events, the men's breakfast from June, which fielded 20 people, our volunteer appreciation, which fielded 40. We also had a July men's breakfast early in the month, and that was 20. We had that at Widows Walk, and they really liked that. They got a great breakfast, which the senior center didn't do. So that was good. Jamie did a great job, and they liked it a lot, and would like to go back there again. We also did have sort of two last minute, but a July 4th luncheon celebration, which we had at the Congregational Church on July 3rd, which was great. We had 50 people there. It was wonderful, and had some great entertainment by the musician Matt Brown in Scituate, so he was great. No air conditioning, so he lost 10 pounds, I think, that day. We also had 3 cafe talks in June, one in early July already, and I just mentioned that because it was standing room only, really. So I may have talked before about the Elephant Sanctuary. That was early June. We had a great panel discussion from 4 really, Scituate professionals that went over very well. Financial wellness, key life decisions, Edward Jones, CPA Ernie Grassi, Holly Harris, the attorney that also volunteers for us, and then individuals from the Richardson Gaffey Funeral Home. We also had a history of chocolate, cafe chocolate, which really went over great. I missed that one, but I loved that. And then lastly, just this week on Wednesday, we had Matt Brown, the other Matt Brown, the comical sort of storyteller on stories of Scituate history, and he had the rap for 2 hours. But we had 40 people in the room, which was really great to see at the Senior Center. And another community event that we did have that we had partnered with, in fact, it was a fire department initiated presentation with the police department as well, and the housing authority, and us, my outreach staff, Laura Manier and Jenny Davis. It's called SAFE. They've adapted a program that they do in the schools to senior awareness, fire education, and it concentrates on fall prevention and fire prevention safety as well. But we had lunch, we got pizzas, in fact, nicely donated from Maria's Pizza and Sub Shop in Scituate. And it's really a little bit preliminary. They're doing an open house in the fall. They're going to bring this all up again and do more involving it, but just wanted to sort of get it out there and have the community aware of it. So we did have a good number in attendance there for that, and we're glad to be partnering with them. We have a couple of field trips happening this month, which is different and exciting. I guess one, a larger bus trip to Foxwoods Casino next week, and a Boston Museum of Fine Arts trip with our own van going in on July 16th. And upcoming a men's breakfast in August with Dave Cassoni, who's a lobsterman and retired science teacher and science liaison to the Lobstermen's Association, so that should be interesting for us in August. A couple of new exercise classes, Zumba, and a power stretch in August that we're bringing in. The reports that I've included as well from the staff, actually it's a couple of pages in, but the transportation is up, which is great. Q Cutler says that we have a rise in our out-of-town medical appointments, which are grant funded, so that's great anyway, we have the money to do that. She's seeing people who are interested in both local and long-distance services. Some are permanent residents, but some are summer here temporarily. In terms of our outreach, Jenny Gervis is in-house at the Senior Center doing outreach coordination, and her advocacy, fuel assistance, SNAP, food stamp, which has gone up recently actually, referrals for private or agency home care, assistance with mass health applications, eligibility recertification, she does a lot of that, Part D drug plans, searching for eligibility there. Elders at risk, where she gives information or referrals, and then there are other miscellaneous things that she does take care of. Sometimes involving a home visit, sometimes it's someone who just pops in, and sometimes it's conference calls, and sometimes multiple. Laura Manier, also manager of social services, deals with many of the same issues, but also others. She deals with both over 60 and under 60, and her numbers, she's quite busy really, her numbers are in the report there. For the month of June. I also did include, just as part of my report, but in the packet, that the Council on Aging Board meetings are the second Thursday of the month, for now, here at the Maritime Center at 5:30, at least through the summer. Hello, Dr.
Come on up, Dr.
Hello.
Welcome. How are you?
You join, start your meetings at 5:30? I'll adjust my Thursday schedule accordingly.
That's all right, we'll catch you up. So I will have, once we determine where our meetings will become, once the summer's over and we're not able to meet here, then I'll pass that out. So you'll have all the meetings at a time right there in front of you in a folder. And then I'll also be able to issue an updated roster of the board of directors once I have everybody's address, phone information, things like that. And that is it for the director's report.
Just to backtrack a little before we move on to the next item on the agenda, Dr. Price, I don't know if you had a chance to, was the agenda sent out on email?
Yes, it was.
Okay, so just so you know, you have been nominated.
I haven't been sworn in yet.
Pardon me?
I haven't been sworn in yet.
Oh, well, no, that's okay, because we can't, we're not gonna vote
Oh,
tonight.
I'm sorry.
No, you've been nominated for chairman of the board.
Who did that?
You, I did. So,
We can discuss, but there's time.
it's time, because we're actually gonna do the voting in next month's meeting.
Oh.
We'll table it.
We're gonna table it, but so you will have time to think about whether or not you want to accept the nomination,
Okay.
et cetera, et cetera. And then in the packet, which I don't believe was email, that information was an email, this is a description of the chair.
You have that.
responsibility. Okay. So, just so you know.
All right.
Now, and also Elizabeth McCabe, she's also a new member. I nominated her for secretary. She couldn't make it tonight, so again, each of you has time till the second Thursday of next month.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're going to continue, and I'm only chairing this meeting because the vice chair couldn't be here tonight, Roger Levy. So, and she's been nominated, she definitely would like to take it, so the formal vote will be next month. And this brings us to number 5 on our agenda, the South Shore Elder Services Liaison Report by Joan Powers. And Joan Powers, of course, just retired from the board, but is very willing to keeping our liaison with South Shore Elder Services. So, John, do you have a report?
There's no report because the South Shore Elder Board did not meet in July. They always meet the first Tuesday,
Oh, okay.
so they didn't meet this month.
So everybody on that board had a vacation.
But Joan will continue to be the liaison and
Yeah.
come to the meetings to give that.
Of which we very much appreciate, John. You know. Okay, so moving right along, we're going to go on to, first of all, it's not on your agenda, it was omitted, but is there any old business that anyone would like to discuss? Okay, so moving on then, again, that was not on your agenda, but, so we'll move on to liaison assignments for the board. And we have 2 other liaison openings. Currently, we have these positions through the past, well, I've been on for 3 years, many years. And one is with the Mass Commission on Disabilities, and they meet once a month. We've always had a representative attend those meetings, so we need one.
But where are those meetings?
Where are those meetings?
A little red schoolhouse.
Oh, okay. They're in Scituate.
Yeah, oh, they're in Scituate, yeah. They're a little red
Oh, it is the
schoolhouse.
local commission for
Okay.
the disabilities, yes. And I,
Yeah, it's a little red schoolhouse.
Yep.
And I think in the past, there's been sometimes confusion because they don't always notify people about the exact times of the meetings. And if we can get, better communication with them, we always had a representative, but sometimes the representative would miss the meeting simply because there was confusion in communication.
well, I have the information for the current chairperson, so once someone's interested, I can relay that or even field it and facilitate them.
So we'll have an opening for a liaison position with the Mass Commission on Disabilities. And the other liaison position that we've had quite some time, a number of years, well, no, just about a year and a half actually, excuse me, is with the Public Facilities Master Plan Committee. And this is pardon?
It's a good.
Yeah, this is the committee that our previous member, who just retired, with Richard Mitchell, used to attend the meetings to discuss the status of the gate school and the master plan. Maybe that's not
For the town.
For the town, yeah.
But with a COA representative.
Right, and, they wanted input, because if
I do not know how often they meet. I don't know if that's actually a regular monthly meeting or not, or it might just be
No, it's not. It's not down to monthly meeting now. When they first started, it was, but this chairperson, Karen Pritchard, she used to inform Richard when the meetings would be. And it was very important when Richard Mitchell did attend these meetings because of the fact that if it comes to vote to be that the senior center ends up in the Cape School, you know, that's why they wanted representation from the Senior Council on Aging. So, you know, Richard used to keep the board and the TV audience posted on what was developing.
Are you looking for liaison for that?
Yes.
Yeah, do that.
Oh, great, thanks. All right, John. Okay, so, we're moving along really well here. This is great. Okay, so now we're going to talk about, so next month, we'll then talk about a possible representative for the commission position, the position for the Commission on Disabilities. So actually, next month, I hope we have a great attendance because we have much to talk about in terms of the internal organization of the board. Okay, so now we come to new business. Does anybody have any new business that they want to bring up? Oh, yeah.
How many are on board, COA board, how many members?
7 at present, and we were mentioning that we might like to solicit at least a couple of more. I think we can go up, it's just a minimum of 7, that's the bylaws, general bylaws.
7 includes you, right?
No,
Oh.
Linda's not a member. She's a facilitator.
Yes. Okay.
No, she's not a guest. Her responsibilities go way beyond guest. She's a facilitator, you know, definitely not a guest.
so we think that would be helpful, because there are months that it's difficult to have.
So can I ask who the other?
Yes, we may. And I can tell you, Jim Harmon,
Okay.
who has been on Cape for the summer, so not here for the last few months. Audrey Reedy,
Yep.
who was vice chair, but
And Elizabeth.
underwent some surgery, so she's 3, 4, 5, 6. And Liz McCabe, who is the other new board member. So 3 new and 4 existing
Yep.
from the previous year.
Okay.
And Debbie. Debbie there. Dale Debbie.
And when I mentioned during that discussion, Dr. Price said, I thought we've had more than 7 in the past.
And usually Marty O'Toole is here as well as the selectman liaison.
Right.
I think it's better to have more than 7 because especially in the winter months, there are people that, there is one member that goes to Florida and people get sick in the winter. And, normally accidents happen, snowstorms, et cetera, so I think it's a better choice to have more than 7 people if we can find some, interested people.
Can I just ask a question? Caregiver support group continues to be well attended. Can you, I should know this maybe, but can you tell me what day, what night,
I believe I can tell you what day exactly. It should be the 3rd Wednesday at noon, and they're meeting at St. Mary's Church.
in the hall?
In one of the rooms off the hall.
Oh, okay.
It's private enough, but more room there than.
Oh, great. Okay, that's great, thank you.
Well, on the agenda, we have, I wanted to bring up something I skipped, but I do want to talk about new business in terms of, because I volunteer so much, I volunteer a lot in the senior center. If I'm not formally volunteering, I'm in there for this or for that, and I know a number of seniors and throughout the town now. And I mean, this is a compliment for Linda. She didn't pay me to say it. But the seniors are just loving these cafe talks. I mean, they are loving them. This is a new program brought into the center by Linda, and I know that the seniors, I get a lot of feedback, believe you me, good and bad. And I mean, I'm glad that the seniors like to talk with me, but they are just loving these cafe discussions. And I think the attendance in itself is growing in numbers, and this is because it was a little slow to get off the ground, and now, just like anything, some seniors are telling other seniors, and I think that Linda's been very creative with getting speakers in that will be very informative but fun for the seniors. You know, I mean, the fire prevention programs, etc., are great for the seniors, but they just love these talks on chocolate, you know, Matt Brown Jones, you know, talking about the history of Scituate in a fun way. They're loving them, and I just think that it's nice to give credit where credit is due.
I should have paid her.
I'll collect that. Let's make that 10 minutes. So I just thought that should be pointed out in new business. And does anybody else, as long as we're on new
How
business?
often have they been on there?
At least 2 a month,
Uh-huh.
maybe 3, if we with the schedule, and, you know, all different variety of ideas,
Yeah.
special interest, or educational, or informational, or
Right.
just fun. So it's a social opportunity, and hopefully it's an informational opportunity as well.
Last 40 minutes, half an hour?
An hour. Yeah, although, except for Matt Brown,
Mhm.
2 hours.
Wine
And nobody
club.
left. I mean, it's good. I don't even think anyone used the bathroom.
And, you know, they held at the senior center, and the senior center, the center of the floor is the card table set up with tablecloths, you know, and tea and coffee is served with some, you know, brunch goodies, and so it's like a cafe, you know. It's been a great addition to the schedule.
I put the 2 of them, I enjoyed both of them.
So the elephant sanctuary?
Yes, that was wonderful, it really was.
Typically like around lunchtime or morning?
We've been doing them at 10 in the morning. Started at 9, and I got feedback that was a little early, so moved it to 10. Now, that is a bit of a conflict, so for instance, we're having an ice cream social, which isn't really the same thing, but we moved it to 1. Just because there are other things, some people have exercise classes. There's always a little conflict, so we might vary it a bit, but right now it's sort of a Wednesday cafe. We've been targeting Wednesday mornings generally, but we might move it around a little bit. I mean, we're obviously flexible.
Of course, I know the seniors love ice cream, but how about ice cream at 10 o'clock in the
Well,
morning?
no, ice cream
not work.
I should mention, we're also having a special piano player, John Rosa, who's coming to entertain us, so that's actually very special.
Far lemons or ice cream is good anytime.
Anytime. That is true.
Okay, so, you know, that was just my chance to jump in with the new business. So, does anybody else have any other new business before we get back to where we were supposed to be? on the agenda?
Do we know, do we have any information to where the public facilities master plan is now in terms of how they're viewing potential for the senior center to be somewhere? Or
We do not know that. I think the first hurdle was the Gate School, and that's sort of still in committee a little bit, going from the master plan committee maybe to the school committee, and then to the state. So I think that comes first, and then the rest may come later. But
what input has the COA had in the process? I mean, has there been a representative who has attended some of the...
ostensibly Richard may have, but has not reported. So as far as I know, may even have not been at the last.
They have some motion.
Yeah.
I do know that when, last year, when Richard was actively going to the meetings and reporting back to the board, he was offering them suggestions when it was appropriate at the meeting times about what would be the best use of space for a senior center. And all of us, I believe it was last summer or 2 summers ago, we all got on the van, the board members, instead of having our formal meeting here, the board members went on a field trip to many of the possible sites for senior center in Scituate, but we spent a lot of time at the Gate School, just for the purpose of the board to look at it and see what was what we thought would work or not work, and some of that information was presented, by Richard when it was appropriate in the meetings he went to, but you see, they were also getting feedback from the recreation department. This particular committee was getting feedback from any of the town's departments that would be involved. So I don't know how much attention was being paid to what our, needs were.
So the short answer is no, not really, but it will be interesting to get someone there.
So I know I was watching the selectmen's meeting on the channel the other night. It sounds like they pretty much formulated a plan for a new intermediate school at the high school site, but they've not really decided to any great degree in terms of what's going to happen with Gates.
That has been the plan, so I assume that's the direction they're going, but haven't heard from them.
So you become a member of the board at a very key time on the seniors.
I kind of went through this from years back. I was on the board 10 to 15 years ago, and there seemed to be a chance that there was going to be something happening in the senior center.
Really? That was the 2000?
Actually funded a town meeting
Right.
for, it was a survey or study to be done, and that's about as far as we ever went.
Of course, you're aware of the feasibility study.
Yes.
Okay, so that's certainly a very positive.
So, and I did
step forward.
report, it's in my report, but just generally that we had received 3 bids and reviewed them, and Tricia was looking at those, and so there'll be something coming up in the next couple of weeks,
Okay.
so that we can start the process.
The needs assessment study. Initially, the Friends of the Scituate Seniors actually were instrumental in pushing that forward, pushing that concept forward, and it was called a feasibility study, but it's formally a needs assessment study. And
Was that going to be done through one of the universities, wasn't it?
That one of the bidders is UMass.
when I was a
Yeah,
kid,
okay.
so UMass Boston, their gerontology department has a bid, and then 2 other companies. So right now, what Linda is, she and Pam Davis and Joanne Ball expressed a view of as to what they thought would be the best. But that's what Linda is saying, in the next couple of weeks, a decision will be made, who will actually do the study.
It hasn't been awarded yet.
Yeah.
No.
Right. Okay, and when it needs to start soon, because it's been voted on by the town.
Right.
So it will start soon.
Yeah.
Just depends on who's going to be doing it.
Okay.
So, okay, so now we have on the agenda committee.
On the agenda, which is new business.
Oh, yeah, that's right, new business. Also in new business, besides my compliments to Linda, when we have a full board, and possibly more than
Next month would be great, we may have a full board.
it would be better if we get more members on the board, to have some committee assignments, like, for instance,
Well, I'd like to actually take a look at bylaws, uncovering old bylaws, which we may have found some, and we may have another revision that I haven't been able to put my hands on, but I would like to look at that and have bylaws for the board, as well as, pardon me?
I agree.
I agree. And the new mission statement, maybe just take a look at our mission statement and just make sure it does really describe what we want to say. So that would be one committee through the board, 2-3 people that are interested in meeting, not necessarily monthly, but however often that might take to have that happen. A long-term planning committee, especially given the timing, that they might be a little more, a smaller group that would be advisory, as well as the bigger group when it does come to maybe some decision-making or discussion around the needs assessment or anything else that comes out of that. I talked a little bit too about events that perhaps we could make some connections in the community through the board, just to even assist with other things going on in the town that isn't necessarily always council on aging related, but us also going into the community. So that's another area that maybe as a board we could look at. And then lastly, I know Debbie had expressed interest the last time I asked for this anyway, so another committee we might get going is the marketing and publicity, just again, so that people are aware of what we do. Articles in the paper that don't just necessarily come from me, or I know Joanne writes one regularly, but just more FaceTime out there, I guess, more information that goes into the community at all levels. So those are my ideas. We could also perhaps have a nominating committee. That way discussion happens before the meeting in terms of who to maybe recommend for certain positions, and then we just vote at the meeting, so we don't always have a discussion here. So that I think I could and would type up, and then maybe we could have that discussion next meeting once we have the chairperson in place. Everybody's okay with that?
It's fine, okay?
Any thoughts?
Well, I was discussing with Linda, like, for instance, the events committee, because I brought up to her that the seniors in the past few years were wonderful. We ran food drives for the Scituate food pantry. And our seniors every single time stepped right up to bat. And this was run through the Council on Aging. If we had a Christmas party, we would ask them, because always the Christmas party, there's no charge for them. There are some of these functions that have to be a little bit if they can afford it, $3 if they can afford, for instance, St. Patrick's Day lunch. But the seniors were wonderful. They would step right up to bat, and they'd come to the Christmas party, whether it was down at the center or at Pier 44, or the Pier 44 building. And, they'd bring a roll of paper towels and a couple of cans of soup, and every single time. So that would be, I'd be willing to be on that committee. And it's also something that's been set up at the Council on Aging with Melanie, our new volunteer coordinator. And she just got it off the ground and school ended, but with some of the seniors, and I myself will be participating in the fall, some of the seniors go over to Jenkins School and, read for an hour, read to the little ones, or whatever whatever the Jenkins School principal and teachers think. And, this shows not only are the seniors needy, or, help the seniors, but that the seniors can help. The seniors are more than happy to help, and they're able to help.
Yeah, participate in things other than
Right.
strictly senior events.
Right.
So, good.
So, we can, these are things you can think about, whether you'd like to be on one of these committees, whether you think we should have a nominating committee, at all, and certainly, to review the mission statement. I don't know if they have a copy of it, maybe right now.
It's on the newsletter, it's in the newsletter.
Oh, okay. Oh, that, yeah. Oh, okay. So, does anybody else have anything that they'd like to offer, before we wrap the meeting up? We've come to the end of the agenda items.
Next meeting will be here, August 14th, 5:30.
Going. Okay, it is now 6:20 and the meeting will be adjourned. I don't think I mentioned the time that it started. I believe it started around 5:07.
5:30.
Oh, excuse me, 5:37, yes. So, okay, so does someone want to make a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
To them? Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night now.